All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Rise Zion. I hope you're all having a wonderful Thursday evening, a fantastic pioneer. What would be a good way to say a pioneer holiday, a wonderful pioneer day holiday. But yeah, we're here doing our live stream in the evening, just as usual. Thought we probably should do a live stream. We're in the process of doing this painting still. And we got to do it. We got to finish this painting up, you guys. If we don't paint, we'll never finish it. And we're just in the process of adding additional details to the armor. Where last time we just sketched it out. Wait for people to join us in the audience. Join us in the chat. Make sure to ask me questions. You can ask me anything, and we'll talk about whatever it is that you guys want to talk about. And before we get started, I'll just say make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this channel before we start. Before you forget, make sure to put a heart in the comments, just as a way to promote the video on YouTube in the algorithm. Let's see, we are in the process of taking pre-orders on our website for t-shirts. So make sure to check out our website at risezion.org. There you can buy all of our different products that we have available, including, that's right, the music that appears on this channel, as well as prints, the previous artwork that we've created. And we were going to play the remaining tracks today of LDS Music's soundtracks that she sent me, and we were just sampling the other night. We didn't have a chance to play through all of them. There are 7 different parts or movements to this track, and we got through 4 of them. And today we're going to be playing, I think we did 5 of them. And today we're going to be playing the last 2, one of which is entitled The Rent Cloak, and the other which is entitled The Title of Liberty. So we can sample those, and then once we have those up on the website, you can purchase those soundtracks as well if you'd like, for a reasonable amount. We split the cost with the creator, so that's a good way to help support the channel, as well as just showing your appreciation for the things that we do here on the channel, and as well as the creator. But yeah, looks like we have people joining us in the chat. We have Captain Scotty who's joined us. We have Chantel who's joined us. Thank you for joining us, Chantel. I don't recognize you in the chat. I'm sorry if I don't recognize you and you've been here before and I just don't remember. But thank you for joining us. We're glad for everybody to be here. Everybody is welcome. And like I said, we're going to be painting tonight. We'll just be going for about an hour, probably about 40 minutes this evening. We'll let you get back to your celebrations of Pioneer Day. So today, we created an episode on the prophecies issued by Joseph Smith regarding the migration of the saints to Utah, the Great Pilgrimage, right? And I just think it's really important to remember these things because we don't really think about it. I hadn't really thought about it either. But these prophecies were issued by Joseph Smith, even though Brigham Young was the one to, sort of spearhead the movement, because Joseph Smith had passed away. All of these prophecies were given in advance and planned by Joseph Smith prior to his death, years and years in advance. In some cases, some of the accounts mentioned that it was up to 14 years in advance that these prophecies were given and planned for. And he even drew maps. One of the maps was drawn on the floor of the Masonic Lodge in Nauvoo, depicting the Great Basin and the Salt Lake City Valley where Brigham Young was to take the saints. So that's really exciting stuff, and stuff that I was not really aware of. I didn't know that he had drawn a map. And something also that was really interesting to consider was that Kwaku El had kind of a similar dream to that as well. And I recall this from one of Ward Radio's episodes. And as I read it, I was like, oh, that sounds really familiar. Maybe it has to do with Quikuel's dream. I don't know. It could. It sounded very similar to what he described in his dream. I don't know. Maybe it just has to do with like this idea of continuing revelation, or the idea that the revelation is continuing today. I don't know. It's really interesting to consider that and to think about it. But yeah, I don't know. What did you guys think about that episode? If you haven't watched it yet, feel free to pull it up in a separate screen. You can listen to it as we're painting here. I'm gonna wait for just a little bit more time so that people can join us this evening before we start playing the music. I know that probably LDS Music wants to be here as we play it. Um, since Kirsten is the creator, it'd be nice for her to be here so that she can hear it. But yeah, we're going to continue painting just for a little bit as we're waiting here. We've had some really great conversations, you guys. What do you? Oh, Dustwave has joined us. Hi, Dustwave. How are you? And Becky has joined us. Hi, Becky. How are you? I'm glad that people are not too busy to join us this evening. I wasn't really sure how things would go tonight because of the holidays. But yeah, we're here painting. We're going to continue this arduous process of creating true art together. The one true talent is art, and music is not the one true talent. I say that because somebody in the comments last night said, what did they say? I don't know. They said that music was like the best or something. And I pretended to be very dramatically upset. And yeah, I've always referred to um, the visual arts as the one true talent, facetiously, because people seem to refer to music as the one true talent, the one true talent of the Lord. But also, it was somewhat in response to the fact that they did take the artwork out of the chapels. I was a little upset by that. They did at one time have artwork in chapels, or in the sacrament hall, better said, but no more for some reason. I don't understand that change. No, sometimes I think that things are a little bit too Puritan. It's definitely a Puritan thing. Like if you check out their architecture for Puritan churches, the idea behind them is that um, is transparency, and so that is reflected in their architecture. It's reflected in our architecture as well. So this very Puritan Protestant sort of ideal that um, everything is to be sort of plain and not mysterious at all. Like the Catholic Church, we want to avoid the Catholic Church's aesthetics. And yeah, to a degree, that's good because we want to distinguish ourselves from Catholicism, right? We don't want to have like the dark cathedrals that they have and everything. But at the same time, we do have a unique visual identity as Latter day Saints. We should probably capitalize on that unique visual identity and include artwork in the chapels again for Sacrament Hall. Pictures of the Savior, not necessarily of Captain Moroni per se. That's just my 2 cents. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of interesting though, also with music, that they do restrict the types of music that one can play. One couldn't play a trumpet, for example, in the sacrament hall, and that's actually, I think, specifically forbidden in the handbook. Like you can only play the piano and the organ. It's kind of interesting considering that we have so many different cultures in the church nowadays. Um, Maybe that rule will change because of the fact that we have a lot of different cultures coming into the church. Oh yeah, so I need to pull up my. Okay, let's see what's going on here in the chat, you guys. All right, we have 10 concurrent viewers still. I'm thinking that that might be about as much people as we get tonight. But I appreciate everybody being here. Lindsay has joined us. Let's see. Have I missed chat? So let's see. Oh, okay. So the episode that I just, Dustwave is asking which episode, Seth. I just got here and missed that. Yeah, so the episode that I posted today is called, what is it called? It's called Joseph Smith literally mapped the future, and Pioneer Day prophecies and the end of America as well. So that's what it's like. You can pull that up and we can chat about it in the chat if you'd like to. And let's see. Lindsay says, hello, everyone. Dustwave says, did you guys see the small clip the church put out about Jeffrey Holland being the Grand Marshal? I did see that. Dustwave says, hello to Lindsay. Becky says, I saw the headline, but haven't watched the clip yet. I want to watch that. Maybe do a episode on it. Lindsay says, you have serious art skills, Seth. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Lindsay says, I don't ever remember having artwork in the chapel. That's interesting. I wonder if that was only a regional thing. That's kind of an interesting thought. Yeah, they did have paintings of the Savior along the walls, but they have since removed those. Nancy Roach has joined us. Dakota has joined us. The painting is coming along nicely. Oh, okay. Desto says, I watched the one you did today. Very good. Okay, thank you. I thought that maybe what you were talking about. I wasn't sure. Years ago, we had bagpipes played at church. Yes, I don't actually remember that for like a sacrament meeting, but for like activities and stuff, definitely people play the bagpipes, like in the cultural hall, for example. And Jellybean has joined us. Welcome, Jellybean. Hello, and I hope everybody's having a fantastic evening. All right, let's play the next music clip here for everybody called The Rent Cloak. All right, sounds like it's playing. It's very quiet. Let's try to move my camera here so that you can see what's going on. Mm. Sounding very nice. I'm liking what I'm hearing, you guys. I think that's the end of the song. So I could hear some motifs in there from different hymns. I'm really enjoying that. That I hope that LDS Music is not upset that we played this without her, but I just fear that maybe she's busy this evening. I had promised that we were going to play this for you guys. But yes, I heard some motifs in there from different hymns, including Know This, That Every Soul is Free. And that was actually one of President Hinckley's favorite hymns. And I quite enjoy that one as well. Yeah. He'll call, persuade, direct aright, bless with knowledge, truth, and light. In nameless ways be good and kind, but never force the human mind. Very good. Very good. All right, let's see what we got here going on in the chat. So it looks like we might have a question from Bob. Sounds fascinating. And string in, yeah, string in and flute. Let's see. Becky says we have had somebody play trumpet in the sacrament. That's interesting because I think it's actually forbidden, or it was forbidden in the manual to use the brass instruments such as the trumpet. I do love the art of our church as well, Lindsay. Nephi has joined us. Nephi Walsh, that looks absolutely amazing. Well, thank you, Nephi. I appreciate that. I hope that you guys can see it. I'm zoomed in and it's kind of glossy, and so the light might make it difficult for you guys to see what I'm doing. But yeah, we're getting all the little details in the armor put in, and I really enjoy doing the details. We're just kind of sketching it in first, and then we're going to render it completely. All right, let's see what we got down here. Yeah, so Bob is saying here, do you think that the prophet Joseph Smith's rainbow prophecy is literal, or could it be symbolic somehow? If literal, any ideas how that might come to pass? One huge drought. Question. That was a question. And I missed the last part of it. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Thoughts? And then thanks. Well, thank you, Bob, for the question. I am going to talk about this now for a while. Let me pull that up, actually. Let's just read it together. Joseph Smith's Rainbow Prophecy. So that we know what we're talking about here, because people have brought this up several times in my videos as an evidence as to why the second coming can't be that close to happening, because we haven't had a year yet without a rainbow. And I just want to quote it exactly the way that he says it so that you can understand where I'm coming from when we talk about it. Yeah. Let's see if we can find it here. Okay. From the teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith, page 340 and 341, as reported by John S. Fulmer on March 10th of 1844. It says, I have asked the Lord concerning his coming, and while asking the Lord, he gave a sign and said, in the days of Noah, I set a bow in the heavens as a sign and token that in any year that the bow should be seen, the Lord would not come. And there should be seed time and harvest during that year. But whenever you see a bow withdrawn, it shall be a token that there shall be famine, pestilence, and great distress among the nations, and that the coming of the Son of Man is nigh, even at your doors. Okay. So this is really interesting because it seems to be referring to a time of famine, pestilence, and great distress amongst the nations, and harvest as well. Now, I think that that's actually important because these statements kind of give us a view about which of the four different appearances of Jesus's second coming we're referring to. So, the harvest is generally referred to the harvest of souls, found in Matthew. Oh, I forget what it is. But yeah, the harvest of people. So this could be, it doesn't really specify which one it's talking about, but it could be referring to the harvest before the great and terrible day of the Lord. So in any case, it is kind of a vague statement, isn't it? But yeah, as in the days of Noah. So we frequently talk about how the end times will be like unto the days of Noah, where people are married and partying and getting all distracted by the things of the world. But yeah, I personally believe that this prophecy is referring to the coming of the Son of Man in the great and terrible day, the last appearance of Jesus Christ, second coming, because that's when everybody gets burned at the end of the parable of the harvest, right? The end of the if you're doing the Book of Mormon, right? The end of Jacob 5. But yeah, I believe that it is um a literal thing. I believe that it will literally be no rainbow. However, as I've said before, we have to be really careful in assuming what signs need to happen before the other appearances of Jesus Christ can happen. So, yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that. I think it is a literal translation. Joseph Smith was a very literal person. He said that we should read Revelations simply as if it were literal and understand it in that way. Yeah, and the Millennial Messiah also talks about it, according to this way, about the Son of Man talking about the rainbow and how the earth tilted like 25 degrees off center to make it happen. Oh, at the time of Noah. That is interesting. I've heard different theories about that as well. We'll have to look that up in the Millennial Messiah books that I just bought. If the rainbow goes away, it would make sense if what Bruce R. McConkie speculated about that if it returned to normal position, the rainbow would be gone. It wasn't there in Noah's day. I'm not sure about that because I don't know if there. I'll have to look that up and see if a rainbow would be possible because it seems to me that light bounces around everywhere, and so to get a rainbow, we don't necessarily need to have the world at a 25-degree angle. I have to look that up. It seems like I've heard of that from multiple sources, not just Bruce R. McConkie, but I'll have to do a search on that and see what is said about that. Ooh, we could just do a search real fast on AI. We can use AI, you guys. Let's see. if the Earth were not tilted, at 25 degrees, would there be rainbows? Would there be rainbows? Well, according to AI, it says that the Earth's tilt has no bearing on whether rainbows occur. Rainbows are formed by the interaction of sunlight and water droplets in the atmosphere, and the key factor for their formation are sunlight, you need direct sunlight, and water droplets. That was a cool theory, but I don't know. I don't think that that is accurate or not. But we can do more research on this later. So the sun must be relatively low in the sky, typically less than 42 degrees above the horizon. If the sun is higher than that, the rainbow will appear below the horizon from a ground level perspective. You know, actually, one thing that I have heard with regards to the rainbow, and this was other Christians talking about it, was the fact that they believe that before the Great Flood happened, like all of that water from the flood was actually contained in the clouds. So it was like constant cloud cover. So that is something that I have heard. I think maybe from that Dr. Ham guy. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's like the Noah's Ark. I think it was him who talked about it. But yeah, that happened, and then after the flood, then there was sun, and there's like some biblical verses that he pulled out to kind of support that idea. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting thing to think about, isn't it? For sure. Oh, LDS musician has joined us. Hello, LDS musician Kirsten. Very glad of you to join us. Yes, it definitely depends on how the instrument is played. Yes. I think saxophone should be allowed in the chapel. Becky says handbook now just says the piano organ or another instrument approved by the bishopric may be used to accompany him singing in sacrament meeting. Okay, that's great. That makes it so that we have all sorts of possibilities available to us now. But yeah, LDS musician is totally right. It depends entirely on how the instrument is played, in the sense of reverenceness that we have. All right, let's play the next track, you guys. We have one last track to play. Have I lost my... I think I may have lost the window I was using to play it. But we'll just pull it up here in just a sec. Okay, here we are. The last title is called The Title of Liberty. Let's play it, and I can continue painting. Yeah, I agree, Dustwave. Speculation is totally fine, and I think it's great, actually. I think that speculation is the precursor to revelation, totally. And I don't care what people say about it. It's just insane to me, the amount of people who are not willing to think about things because it makes them uncomfortable for some reason. Very odd to me. I'll be quiet now so that we can. I'll be quiet so that you guys can hear the music. And just continue painting here. And there it goes. That's great. That one definitely had a motif in it from the hymns. Don't know if you noticed. Very good. Okay, so this one we're going to put a face on it. Now here, I want to do more research too on that whole rainbow thing, Dustway, because I thought I've heard that too before from somebody else, and it was not David O. McKay, I don't think. And I thought it might be like, I don't know, like a Bill Nye the Science Guy sort of thing. I don't know. We'll have to see about that because that's kind of an interesting thought because it does have to be low in the sky. The sun does have to be at an angle in the sky in order for the rays to hit the raindrops just right to create that effect of a rainbow. And so if this, let me just think about that just for a second. If the Earth was at a different degree, huh? The sun would still rise and set. However, I'm assuming also at the same time that the sun, we're saying that the seasons are not happening anymore because there is no tilt. So as the Earth makes its revolution, as it progresses through the year around the sun, we would not have changing weather because of the fact that um, one hemisphere of the Earth would not necessarily be pointed more towards the sun than the other. So the seasons would stop in that case. And the sun would rise and set in the exact same position every day. There would be no progression of the sun across the horizon as we currently experience it. But nevertheless, I think that rainbows would still be possible in that case. Um, hmm. Just thinking about it logically, I can't think of any reason why a rainbow wouldn't be able to form unless it changed the weather somehow, not having a rotation, or not having that tilt, or not having the seasons. It changed the weather, melted the ice caps, and made the clouds appear in the sky consistently so that we had enormous amounts of clouds because of all the rain. Not all the rain, but all the water that was in the atmosphere. I'm drawing a little egghead on his belt area here, his navel. I'm just painting in all these little details. Art Deco, Mesoamerican details. I might have to add some more details to that later. After the paint dries, it's getting a little hard to work with. Oh no, it's watery too. Just rub this completely off. All right. Yeah, I really cannot understand for the life of me why people are so. Um, and here's the thing too. It's like the people who think that other people are not entitled to speculate about anything church related are the same people who also have their own opinions. What they're really saying is that you're not entitled to express your opinion. That's what they're saying. They're allowed to have their opinion. You're just not allowed to have or share your opinion. It was just the other day that somebody was said something completely inaccurate and then was trying to pass it off as if it were the gospel truth. In reality, it was their opinion. And then trying to make sure that everybody else couldn't share their opinion or their speculation, quote unquote. I find it very, very odd, to say the least. No, okay, let's see what we got here going on in the chats. We have 14 people have joined us. Jose has joined us. Hello, Jose. How are you? Hola, Becky, Nancy. Let's see. I've missed a few. Let's see. Um, oh yes, yeah, that's definitely true. The Earth's core, Lindsay, does absolutely have an enormous amount of water in it. It's not the core, but it's the mantle. The mantle does contain an enormous amount of water, and yeah, they said that a lot of times the young Earth people say that that's where all the water from the flood went. So I mean, that's definitely a possibility for sure. Becky says, "How perfect that song's subject." Yes, absolutely. Jose has joined us just to see how the picture is going. I think it's going pretty well. Adding more details. Yeah, Becky says the only danger with speculation is when we start taking it as doctrine, which many people do. And then, of course, they turn around and chastise everybody else for their for speculation. LDS Musician says, hello, Jose. Lindsay Black says, I wonder if anybody else had heard that too. Hums to the music, Dustwave says. Very good. I think that people like the music. It sounds really good. Oh, I'm painting on the oval right now a little face, Nancy. But we're gonna have to wait for it to dry to paint more. I think it's a little bit, so it's not working. We just have to wait for it to dry and then paint more layers on it, I think, to get all the details. Haven't studied it from a physics perspective though. That's a great thing to think about, isn't it? Lindsay says, great track. Dustwave says, we are studying it out in our minds. Absolutely. God works through natural means, so it will all be a natural process. That's true. May seem miraculous, but it's also natural. There's so many possibilities. So I've heard that the signs of the Savior's return will be of what happened at his death, possibly, with earthquakes and everything. Yeah, that's probably very true. I mean, just more prolonged, right? More. So I think we've been going through these tribulations ever since, Joseph Smith prophesied of the end of all nations. Basically, I think it's been ongoing. Yes, the personifying details in the armor are interesting. I wonder if this was to have accurately represented Moroni's armor, who these figures would have symbolized to him. That's a good question. Yes, I that's what I thought too. I thought like, I mean, it's over his gut, right? So it's like it's a very central part of him. Could be God, I guess. I love the Mesoamerican details. Thank you, Lindsay. I do not add a fast drying medium to my oil paints, so it just dries overnight because I'm using very thin washes, so it doesn't take very long to dry. It just takes about 2 days. Yeah, that's absolutely true. People who are saying we shouldn't speculate that the second coming is soon also usually insist it is far away at the same time. Yeah, that's true. If anything, this year's study of the Doctrine and Covenants has taught our God is a God of ask of me and seek. So we shouldn't be afraid to ask, but know that true doctrine comes from the scriptures and the prophets. Yeah, yeah, that's true. And Dusty says, I suspect it will be the earth returning to her former state, the flattening of mountains and raising of valleys. Yeah. Yes. Rough places becoming smooth. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I think I've messed this up a little bit, you guys. This should not be quite so tilted. It should go up a little bit there. Yeah. When I was standing, it looked straight, but then when I sat down, I realized it wasn't straight. Yeah, I think that I love the Doctrine and Covenants so much because of the fact of just how personal these scriptures are and relevant to the second coming, and they're so relevant for personal revelation as well as finding true doctrine through the prophets. I love it. Love it, love it. Sometimes I have to lean back to see what I'm doing. This thing up here is like a little skull that I was trying to block in. It'd be kind of hard to get that, I think. So I do really love the Doctrine and Covenants. I think one of my favorite is, I really dislike all of the Doctrine and Covenants, but yeah, it's hard to choose. I really do like where it talks about the Urim and Thummim and the White Stone and everything. I do love the Revelation. The section about Revelation, Doctrine and Covenants 8, I think it is. Hmm. Hmm. All right. Well, we are just about at the end of this live stream, you guys. I have so enjoyed your conversation this evening, even though we've just had a short time to talk, and for your great questions. Will give us an opportunity, I guess, to let this dry before we continue working on these details the next time. On Monday, you guys, we're going to continue our live stream on Monday. But yeah, I'll just change the angle of this camera so you can kind of see what's going on here. Hopefully you can see all the details without too much trouble. I'm going to work on his face too. These details in the fabric of that. This is going to be a good painting. I have a good feeling about this one. All right, you guys, let me come through to the chat here. All right, so let's just tilt that so you can see on the corner of the painting how it's looking at this angle. You can see the painting over here. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. Rough places becoming smooth, Dustwave says, which we talked about. And the joyful thing is that we get to see it. Yes. And yes. What does it mean when the prophet said the hearts of men will fail them? It's a good question, isn't it? I definitely think that it does have to do with fear a lot. I think it has to do with fear. I think it has to do with the love of man waxing cold. I think that that has a lot to do with it. Absolutely. Will we stand for good and right at the end at the expense of our life? That's a great question. I think it's possible that this is fulfilled in many ways. One interpretation is that people may be so afraid because of tribulations that they lose their hope. Yeah, well, and I mean that's true. I mean, look at how people reacted to COVID. You know, people totally lost. There's some people who just totally have lost entire, like, absolute confidence in the prophet because of their recommendations for the vaccine, even though it was a completely reasonable request to make of people. Um, but yeah, people have just completely gone away from the church. I mean, even if you disagreed with that decision, you don't have to leave the church over that. Um, there's That's just a very strange thing to leave the church over, in my opinion. But it was specifically that. I think that definitely I think it is related to the things that are happening in our day. Definitely the tribulations. I asked someone that question before. They told me it means people will have heart attacks. Yeah, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. People have always had heart attacks. Dustwave says, will we choose Jesus Christ no matter what the stakes? I definitely think it's more figurative, Jellybean, along the lines of what Dustwave and Kirsten are saying, in my opinion. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, men's hearts failing them definitely have to do with where their heart is. I mean, if you look at all the scriptures and the connotations that are associated with the heart and the fleshy tablets of the heart being what God writes on, you know, the idea then that one's heart should fail them would seem to suggest that they are leaving God behind, not that they're having a literal heart attack. Yeah, there's a lot of fear and anxiety, which is part of the reason why we have this channel, right? So that we can prepare with one another in a positive and uplifting way. And I think that we need that, definitely, Lindsay. Jose says, I am well, brother, watching and learning from your wonderful work. I really like the art. Thank you so much, with Jose. I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you watching our painting sessions. It's always fun when we have more people and we're all participating in the chat. I love that. The stream passes so fast. It really does. This is going to be just an hour. Like, it's an hour is a pretty long time, but it seems to go by so fast, and we don't have enough time to finish any of the details. Another interpretation is that people's worldly desires will lead them away from the straight and narrow path. Absolutely. Nancy Roach says Monday seems a long time to wait, so keep putting out videos. Yep, I will. Just as normal, but we don't do live streams on Friday because I need a rest on Friday evenings. Jellybean says, thank you, everyone. I appreciate that too, Jellybean. Thank you for your question. Yes, too long. Lindsay Black says, where is it said the passing of time will accelerate with each passing day in benefit of the righteous? I'm I'm not sure if it actually says that or not. I think that there is a scripture. Let me look that up real fast because I have the ability with AI to look up things really fast. Okay, let's see. I think it talks about the chair. Let's see the. Let's see. Covenant of blessing. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Huh. It's not bringing up the scripture that I thought it should. Hmm. Oh, that's because I did the wrong kind of rain, I think. Let's. No. I'll have to look this up later, you guys. It's not being as accommodating. Huh. I'll have to look this up later. There's a lot of different. Because there's one that talks about. Anyway, the scripture that I was thinking about was talking about the reigns of the Lord being the righteousness of the people, or something to that effect. And I think it's in Isaiah or Jeremiah, one of those. But in any case, let's wrap this live chat up, you guys. Oh, we have two other people have joined us all of a sudden. Prince Moustache has joined us, and Agal Needs. I just checking in to say I really love the casual, relaxing vibe here, especially with the music. I can totally listen to this while I'm also working on whatever I need to. That's great. That's what we're trying to do. That's fantastic. Thank you for popping in and saying hi. And Prince Moustache, how is it? How was it reasonable? It was most definitely not. He should clarify it's from a doctor's opinion and not the prophet's opinion. There is no difference between the prophet's opinion and the doctor's opinion in this case. I think two things can be true at once. I'm going to say this. I think it's really important. What the prophet did was absolutely a good thing to do, and it saved a lot of people's lives. And you can look at the numbers of that. Any reasonable number or statistic that talks about that. Nevertheless, two things can be true at once. The way that the government released the vaccines and talked about the vaccines was certainly not ethical at the same time. So, yeah, they should have been more transparent and straightforward with the way that they talked about it. They didn't. Everybody should have been, just as the gospel teaches, able to choose for themselves. The government should not have tried to coerce people into taking a vaccine. But yeah, I think that the prophet statement was totally appropriate. It was not only appropriate, but it was necessary. So, but in any case, yeah, that's my opinion. I think that it did save a lot of people's lives in that in its effectiveness. However, they should have totally been more transparent with the way that they rolled that out, and they were not, unfortunately. But in any case, that's just my thoughts on the matter. And you can totally disagree with me if you'd like. However, I don't think that this is something that one needs to lose their testimony over. But yeah, welcome to the chat, and welcome to the live streams in the evening. We are grateful for everybody who has been here this evening, and I can hear the fireworks outside, you guys. So we are going to end this live stream, and let's see. I've really appreciated your videos. I've made a lot of changes, hopefully for the better, and hearing your thoughts, sharing talks have really helped me. I use my CTR ring as celestial thinking reminder. That's a great thing. That's a great reminder. Matthew 24 has the closest info, shortened those days since 2020. Several record shortest days has been set, Coastal Gardening says. Interesting. Craig Nelson says, hi. LDS Musician says, I think the scriptures about poison not hurting people is an interesting consideration when it comes to the church and the vaccine. Yeah, except for it wasn't poison, it was a vaccine. So Craig Nelson says, ending just as I joined. Dustwave Musician says, night guys, was a great seeing and talking to you. He says, hi Matt and hi Craig. Lindsay Black says, hi Craig and Matt. I'm glad that all of you guys have joined us, but we're just about closing. Oh, all right. Okay, well, we have to end this, you guys. I'm sorry, but we must end this live stream. Oh, it's fun that you guys are all showing up. All right. Captain Scotty says, thank you, Seth. Time to see the fireworks. Good night and be safe. All right, yes. Before we go, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this live stream to spread it on the algorithm as much as possible. I say goodbye. Happy evening to all from Venezuela. Make sure to check out our website and pre-order your shirts if you'd like to at risezion.org. And there you can purchase other things on these live streams as well. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.